This right here is a real beauty. It's a beautiful machine, and what's inside is beautiful too. This is a Sun Ultra 45 workstation from 2006. Initially released in 2006, I think it was early 2006, and discontinued in 2008, October of 2008, that's when it was discontinued. This and its sibling, the Ultra 25, were the very last Sun Unix workstations made. They were introduced the same year SGI killed off their Unix workstations, and the same year Apple switched to Intel, and discontinued the same year HP quit making the 9000s. And because this is the last Sun workstation model they made, it's very fitting that they put it in a very beautiful case. They went to a brushed metal case, which is the same type of case Sun was using for their servers at the same time that Oracle kept using for a while too, when they bought out Sun. And it looks really, really nice. You can just see this brushed metal and this nice big Sun Microsystems logo. It just looks great. And on the back here you can see, let's look at the ports real quick. So this has serial A and serial B. Here's a fun fact: if you plug in serial A and you turn the system on, you'll actually get the full self-test. So if you have issues with it, plug a serial connector in. USB ports, 2 Ethernet ports, and that's about it. You're not going to get any of those funky proprietary ports. Even as labeled what the PCIe ports are and all, and what all these ports are, it's well labeled. Let's take the side off. Needs a little bit of cleaning, but as you can see, wow. It's got this nice clear panel, and you could probably run the system while it's on with this panel in place, kind of like the Mac Pros let you, or G5s I meant to say. I don't know about the Mac Pros, but the G5s definitely let you do that. So as you can see here, there's a CPU there. There's an UltraSparc IIIi. And here's a socket 959 actually. MPGA 959. I think it's a socket 959, and they probably reused the socket to cut costs. As you can see, there's RAM sockets. So while the system's apart, I might as well explain the difference between the Ultra 25 and the Ultra 45. The Ultra 25 does not have the CPU socket or those RAM sockets, because it's essentially a cut down version of the Ultra 45. As you can see, it's a basic motherboard, and as you can see here, there's your PCI Express and PCIe slots. The GPU in there right now is actually a Radeon 7000, but with Sun branding on it. There's a Western Digital Blue SATA drive. This machine actually uses SATA. Look at that. And of course, you also get to look at it looks nice. It's got clock battery there. It's got heat sinks there and all. It looks like a nice machine. And even better is, let's take a look at this. So as you can see, this has all the service procedures written down. CPU, CPU1, everything you need to switch in the system is labeled here. But that's not the best part. Oh no, that's not the best part. 2006 125. This machine was made all the way back in 2006, which was like the calm before the storm, because just 1 year later Apple would release the iPhone. And that thing would change computing for the worse by far, in my opinion. Here's the fan grills. Again, you can see there's a lot because this thing puts out heat. So let's turn on the Ultra 45. First thing you'll notice is that this system was designed to be used in an office environment, and due to that, instead of putting jet engine fans on here, they made it run quiet. It's really, really quiet. So this is a generic keyboard, just some MX Blue clone switch keyboard I got from Amazon. Any USB keyboard is going to work. Actually, I got this real cheap at somewhere like that, but yeah. And with these Unix workstations, here's a tip. You're going to want to use just a plain old USB mouse. No gamer mice, none of that junk. That ain't going to work, because X won't like it. So right now, this is the boot up screen. This is open firmware, or open boot, as it's called in Sun terms. If you double smash the power button when that OK light flashes, you can get into the OK prompt without having to have a Sun keyboard. So right now it's currently booting Solaris 10, the operating system that these machines ran. So it's booting SunOS 5.10. As you can see, it's a relatively recent version, so it actually has Oracle copyrights on it. It's still called SunOS though, but even though it's Solaris, but it's got Oracle copyrights on it now because Oracle bought out Sun Microsystems and nobody liked it. Because Oracle's kind of a shitty company, and I heard recently that they fired a lot of Solaris and Spark related employees recently, and that kind of made news. So I forgot to set the host name. I'll do that eventually. But as you can see, it's currently booting up. It's at the login screen and it's starting up. Looks like it's starting up CDE. Yeah, it started up the CDE login prompt. Welcome to Unknown. So on Solaris 10, it's a heavily skinned CDE login prompt. Doesn't look like it did on the older versions, which looked like other Unix distros like HPUX, AIX, the Digital True 64, I think, or even IRIX if you set it up to use CDE, which you actually could do. So I've got this RGB gamer keyboard hooked up to this thing. Bit untasteful, but whatever. So let's log in. You could actually hear the login sound, and it's loading Java Interactive Desktop, or whatever it's fucking called. I forget what it's called. Let me double click desktop overview. Yeah, Java Desktop System. It's basically GNOME 2, which is also what Mate is based off of, but reskinned. So it's got a start menu-like menu, just like on your PC. It doesn't have CDE. You can get some of the same games you would get on a Linux distro. Like, let's go new game. Let's play Connect 4 on this workstation. Yeah, let's play Connect 4 on a Unix workstation. That's what these were for. Connect 4. On a Unix workstation, and I gained my ass kicked by this UltraSparc IIIi CPU. Let's open up the terminal. You can actually download Solaris from Oracle's website, actually. So as you can see, it's Solaris 5.10 on the SunW A70, which is I think it's referring to this machine model. You can open up multimedia. You can open up some media player, some movie player, CD player, digital camera browser. A lot of these apps came straight out of like Linux distros. You can open up Firefox. and it actually goes to some recent websites. Let's go to a website. Let's see how old this Firefox version is. It's ESR 24. So, let's see how old ESR 24 is. Well, Google actually still works on here. So, ESR 24 is apparently from 2015, 2014. Yeah, it looks like it was from 2014 because there's a forum post from 2014. So, Firefox ESR is 24 is a bit old. It's a bit oldish. Not the newest one. Actually, 2013, yeah. So this is from 2013 Firefox. Not too old. Unlike some of the other Unix OSs where you've got Firefox 1, Firefox 2, maybe Firefox 3 if you're lucky. This, you get Firefox ESR 24 on. But it gets better. So look at this. I actually can run look at this. Newer Firefox. It's running very, very slow. But what can you expect from a CPU that's a bit out of date? Let me go to Preferences. Let me go to About, actually. Firefox 45 on Solaris. It's a bit slow, yes. But it sort of works. It's just really slow because this is a 1 CPU model. It might be faster with 2 CPUs. So while we're at it, let me highlight something about these last Unix workstations. Many of them were kind of behind the curve. I mean, you had the IntelliStation Power 285, which had the fastest CPUs IBM had, or at least the up-to-date ones with Power 5s in them, but they only had the same GXT 6500P from, what, the Power 3 era workstations. That was the best GPU you could get. They had on HP 9000s and the alphas that were similar, and the SGIs, they were just rehashing the same old hardware, especially the 9000s, which had the same old PA RISC CPU that they quit updating because herder by Titanium. And then you had the Sun Ultra 45. Had the UltraSparc III. Wasn't the slowest CPU, but it wasn't the fastest. I think when this came out, they already had the UltraSparc T1 and the UltraSparc 4, and this was still using the UltraSparc 3. I don't know why they did it. Maybe to cut costs. Maybe to maybe because they wanted to put out less heat so this wouldn't be as noisy. Because I heard the IntelliStation Power 285 was noisier than the 185, which I heard was more or less a system made for government agencies because it was quieter and all. But let's talk about this a little bit more. The thing is, with these Unix workstations, at least from what I read online, one of the main reasons they all died off at the same time was because 64-bit Windows came out, and it got better, and because XP64 was half-baked, but then you had Vista and 764, and those were designed to handle more RAM. And the advantage of this was it could handle more RAM. So once that advantage came to x86, these were at their end of the line. Because they were out of date, proprietary. You had to use a special Sun GPU. There's actually a PCI Express GPU I'm going to get for this thing, and that'll run Quake 3 Arena on it. And these were just at the end of the line. So, they could run your older stuff fine. There's one more thing I'm going to fire up because why not? The development SDK for this. You could with these machines you could run stuff faster than the older Suns on them, but then x86 machines were even faster than that, and that's the problem. These x86 machines were faster than these were, especially towards the end when they quit updating them as much. So eventually what happened is they basically just quit making them. And so the Ultra 45, along with some of the other last of the Unix machines, such as the IntelliStation Power 285, the HP C8000, the Tesoro and Fuel from SGI, and the last alphas in general, those will go for crazy prices. Because these are newer, presumably more reliable. I mean, this you saw the inside. This is just like a single board. It's not like the clusterfuck like the Octane is. And they're faster than the other Suns machines. They're newer, so they shouldn't break as much. And that means that these Ultra 45s can go for crazy prices on eBay. And Oracle Studio finally just loaded. So, let's quit it now, because it's being slow. You can tell this is sluggish. Especially because this SDK is written in Java. But you can actually play CDs with this. You can do a few... It seems like it was more polished for the desktop than many of the other Unix boxes from the mid-late 2000s. Well, that and SGI, but SGI was its own thing, if you know what I mean. So I'm gonna shut this thing down. You can actually do this. You can log in as root. And let's shut the thing down. You can actually shut it down, just like on Linux, if you log in as root, or give yourself permissions, presumably. So you just have to click that, and bam, it shuts down. No need to type in init, whatever. This'll do it easily. So there you have it. There's a quick look at this Ultra 45, a nice, beautiful Unix workstation from an end of an era. And I think the other reason this probably didn't age as well has to do with the whole fact that nowadays, especially with shit like Java, shit like that Firefox I showed you, the whole programming philosophy is the whole, let's just, who cares if you've got like this old ass Sun, if it runs slow, just who cares if it runs slow? You know what our fix is? Let's just when we're making code, we don't care if it like takes up 5 more CPU cycles. That's irrelevant. Because that's how they program nowadays. And when it starts to add up, especially with web browser crap, where you've got bloated ass web browsers, it doesn't browse the internet so well. And before I end this video, I'll show you how to get into open firmware without the OK key. Real quick. So you're going to want to wait for this OK light to start flashing. Or the green light, depending on your model. If there's a beep, you'll want to hit it there. You'll want to push it twice while it blinks. Now let's look back here. There you go. You can get into the OK prompt because that'll put you in safe mode. So if you don't have a Sun keyboard and you want to reboot this thing and you don't want to like do something like plug it into a serial console and try hitting a command there, this is what you do. Push that button twice. And now you can see it's just like on a Mac or RS6000. Complete with the slow screen updating. There you have it. It's a beauty.